right, good morning, everyone. This is Tom Allen at RIA Advisors. I'm the Senior Benefits Consultant here. As part of our education series, I like to bring in subject matter experts to talk about things that are on top of mind for small business owners, large business owners, pretty much anybody that is interested in benefits. So today I have the pleasure of bringing in Demir Glover. Demir is with Paylocity, and we're going to be talking about AI in the workplace. So this is going to go into what Demir is seeing from a payroll standpoint, from an HR standpoint, and we're just going to have a ton of fun talking about a very pertinent topic. So Demir, just to kind of kick things off, tell people a little bit about your background and a little bit about Paylocity, and then we'll jump into AI.
Okay, perfect. So yes, I have been with Paylocity for about a year, and I've been in this space for about 4 years. I would say that I thank Tom for giving me like a boost. I'm not an expert, but I have been in the market to see what's really going on. So I really want to talk to you guys today about just a standpoint of what we're seeing when it comes to AI and HR, payroll, things that I'm seeing from an account executive on a day-to-day basis, talking to executives, talking to the real users of the technology, talking to people that are making these decisions. So really excited to get into that today.
And I mean, I appreciate you being humble, Demir. Maybe give the listeners a little bit of scale about Paylocity, and maybe like just from the fact that you get to interact with a whole lot of people, how you have a lot of information about how this is impacting the workplace.
Yeah, so at Paylocity, we are a leader in this space when it comes to HR and payroll technology. We are one of the first when it comes to integrating finance, IT, and payroll. We have a strong market, whether that's going to be from your smaller business to your mid to all the way to enterprise. So we cover a lot. We see a lot when it comes to different situations, whether that's going to be from different industries that we're working with. We're dealing with different client sizes. We're dealing with different implementation sizes. So we're seeing a lot in the market. And just from a standpoint here in Houston, we have a really open market of businesses that we're seeing or different industries. So I'm really excited to just talk about what we've been seeing in some of those.
Awesome, man. Let's go ahead and kick it off, man. Let's jump head first. So I know maybe just lay the landscape for us. Like, what is the reality right now with just HR and payroll? Are we still outdated? Are we still up to speed? Like, what are you kind of seeing in the industry right now?
It's the biggest buzzword, right? If you want to sell anything, if you want somebody to take a call with you, just say, hey, we have AI. I think McDonald's has AI on like the ordering machines nowadays. But AI is this really big buzzword. But I would say that we're doing really good. I don't know if you've ever seen the image of Will Smith eating spaghetti from like AI 3 years ago versus like today.
Yes.
And it's like he had 17 fingers, and now we're like just 3 years later, you wouldn't be able to tell it's not him. I would say that that's a good testament of where we are when it comes to HR right now. I would say on the agenda, I'm not going to be here too long to like bore you guys about AI, getting really deep into the technicalities of it. But I do want to talk about from like a business standpoint. We're going to get into the reality how HR and payroll is still shockingly manual. How AI can help a lot of companies when it comes to their workflows, when it comes to their processes. We'll talk a little bit about how AI is working today. We're going to talk about risk and compliance. We chatted a little bit about that before. And then we'll get into ultimately what this means for business owners, whether that's going to be a mid-sized business owner, if that's going to be small business, if we're enterprise, finance teams, accounting teams, HR teams, they're becoming more unified than ever in 2026. And I think this is a time when AI is going to be a bigger conversation. Payroll systems, payroll technology should be a big conversation just for, universal records and things like that. So
perfect, man. Yeah. So like, let's start with the reality and maybe the manual landscape. So I'll give you an example. So like in the retirement world, we're still pretty far behind when it comes to a lot of different stuff. And so like, hopefully my industry, we're not the ones that at the back of the bus that are trying to play catch up. What's it like in the HR world as well?
I would say in HR, it's major right now. Everybody has AI. They're rolling out different features. No matter the company, right now you should see AI in a lot of your features and functionality. And I think that's a good thing, but that can also be an issue. Right now, people are selling features for AI, but I think we also need to look at what is the foundation of the decision on why we're using AI. Are we over automating things that we still need human aspects to? So I would say that we're seeing very early adoption heavy. I don't know if that's going to be good or bad. Time will tell us. Mm-hmm. But I will say that, the adoption of artificial intelligence in systems of AI HR, payroll are higher than ever right now.
So let's just say some of your more sophisticated clients that you're working with, and obviously we'll keep this 100% anonymous. How do you see them using AI in the workplace right now?
Tons. I always have this thing that I like to talk about is like the leak. And when I talk about the leak, it's going to be money, it's going to be time, it's going to be whether that's going to be data and reports, It can be PTO. It can just be manual tasks that we were just spending tremendous amounts of time on, which ultimately leads to waste of a company. AI can be very beneficial when it comes to companies saving dollars, whether that means, we're going to automate more, we're going to streamline some tasks, we're going to put some processes in place to fix things where we may have been a little bit more manual. But on the other half of that, like you said, you want to make sure that you're not going too far into adoption of where, you're removing some securities, compliances that we may need.
Yeah. So just very basic things. So like data lookup, people look up, running reports, and even like maybe even creating SOPs and playbooks and stuff like that, using AI to kind of like automate those scripts once you kind of give it a prompt and stuff like that. Is that what you're kind of referring to in terms of basic tasks?
Yeah. So even so, from anything like, hey, I want to check out my PTO hours right now, to hey, I want to rewrite a tax law code, because we're in 2026 and some things may have changed. You have systems nowadays, I'm not going to say any names, that will be able to allow you to look in and say like, hey, we've had an update in taxes. Is there a part that I should be looking at? Or is there an area that I should be looking at? This is where artificial intelligence is going to help us. We're getting ready information to make better decisions faster without having to go through the email thread. That's where we're excelling at in this space. That's what I would say.
So like when I would imagine most of the time you're speaking to either a C-suite, maybe a director of HR, maybe something like that. Are you finding that it's just creating leverage for whoever's interfacing with the day-to-day management of people, benefits, systems? They're the ones that are benefiting from just streamlined productivity. Like, hey, they're just using this as a tool to speed up their own work.
Yeah, 1,000%. I would say, and it starts from the executive level to make the decision, right? And I don't want to minimize the role that the user plays when it comes to artificial intelligence, because ultimately they are the ones that it's built for.
Sure.
They're going to be the end user. They're going to be the ones in the system every single day, specifically more so talking to, payroll. I'm thinking about the HR manager that's getting bombarded with 15 emails about payroll, W-2s, W-4s, just like simple things like that. When you can remove that from their plate, because we have AI chatbots or we have text boxes that are then allowing our employees to then ask those questions there, we can then become way more strategic in HR. HR has become a function where it seems like we're being very reactive. We don't do things until something goes wrong, and that's when we make a change. This AI and where we're at in 2026 is allowing HR departments, HR teams to be more proactive. Now we're being able to reallocate hours inside of HR departments to things that we want to see, where that's going to be, we want to do more benefits. We want to make more groups. We want to, increase company morale, whatever that initiative may be. AI is allowing you to have more hours to focus on the core meat and potatoes of a business and not just the day-to-day task. And I think that's really major. Then on the executive level, it trickles up. When you have a more efficient workforce, then you can get better data, you can get better information, then you're pulling better reports to make better business decisions. So it kind of like ties together in a way.
It makes sense. So like, in businesses of a certain scale, right, they're relying on HR to do a lot of different functions when it comes to the day-to-day management of the human side of the business. And sometimes it's like that falls on one person, and then maybe possibly even like a backup admin to kind of like, hey, like just in case, like do this stuff. So when you're talking to human resource professionals, people who are like, this is truly the craft or of their trade, what do they want to actually be focusing on? Rather, it's not probably payroll and reports and stuff. It's more of like, how do we develop our people to get the best out of them, because they are the biggest asset of our business?
For the most part, I would say if you ever go inside of an HR department, they're always going to be swarmed with, hey, I have to get payroll processed before Wednesday. Okay, hey, we have to make sure we get bonuses. We have these laws. We're going through things like that. That's what we have thought of our HR to be, but it's so much more. The HR is legitimately the glue of our company. So whether that's going to be, at Paylocity, for instance, I can say our HR team, we put a lot of focus on the community inside of our company. How do we make people feel heard? What initiatives, what groups, what organizations can we start internally to make our workforce more stronger? And then, of course, me being a salesman you can always tie that back to employee retention. You can tie that back to applicant tracking, when you're saying, hey, we're not in market looking for top candidates long, because our company is known to be a true company that's good to work for. And it's not just a buzzword to say, oh, we're just top 50 company of insert whatever city, at that time. It'll play in major ways of every part of every company if done correctly.
Yeah, and so now let's talk about the other side of it, because I feel like every time the human race gets another shiny object or tool to play with, we can use it a couple of different ways, right? So we talked about a lot of the benefits, and I think some of the concerns people have, especially because we're still trying to get our hands around the capabilities and to what extent AI can replace or even just augment our work, right? What's some of the risk that you're already seeing in terms of conversations, either with clients or like maybe put to rest some of the concerns people have of like, well, if I'm talking to an HR director, is this going to replace their work? Are we talking about replacing human capacity here? Like, what are you seeing right now?
1,000%, Tom. And I get it. When people are hearing artificial intelligence when it comes to HR, they're seeing like, oh my goodness, mass layoffs, or thinking this machine is going to replace me. And I would say that we're far away from artificial intelligence replacing people 100%. I believe that'll be far into the future. Most of us probably won't be here for that time. Human element still needs to be a part of artificial intelligence. That's me as a consumer of artificial intelligence in my everyday life using ChatGPT. That's me seeing what needs to be done at work and what is allowed at work, whether you talk about compliance and sensitive information, whether that's going to be, you don't want to set a system up to where the system is running itself because you need checks and balances. And I feel like a human element to artificial intelligence still applies a check and a balance. So I would say using artificial intelligence, and I believe we will get to this in one of our later slides, as a tool and not as a replacement in most companies. That's where you've seen most companies be successful. The smart business owners in the executive suites right now that are successful are the ones that are taking AI and using it as a tool for their workforce and not a replacement for their workforce. Yeah. I think there's a big difference between those two in artificial intelligence.
So let's just jump there real quick. So I'll tee you up here with the slide. So if we were going to talk about how some of the leading companies, best companies, biggest companies, however you want to define it, how are they using AI as a tool? Give some examples of like, and we'll just start there.
I love it. So I'll say let's go from an employee standpoint. I'm an employee at ABC company. I wake up, it's today, and I want to say, oh my goodness, when is the next holidays that we have? I want to know what are our holidays. I wake up, and instead of me saying, let me reach out to Susie in HR or ask, when are the holidays? How does holiday pay work? Do I get time and a half? If time and a half is correct and I have overtime, you see, you can spiral those. I can wake up, open up my app, type in, what days do we get off for holidays at ABC company? Mm-hmm. What is the policy for time and a half for an hourly employee? You can answer all of these questions and you can have it set up, but that's going to, of course, come from the setup and the functionality of your HR team. So they're going to go through, of course, implementation to have these workflows for answers to be, for these questions to be answered when they're put through. But on the upside, like you say, when you're talking from an executive level down, you want to look at the health of your workforce. What was our workforce head count from 2024 quarter one to 2023 quarter one? And how does that correlate to 2026? What trends are we seeing from our overall company health? How does that work for a department? So you're being able to get very quick information and data, which used to be sent from, executive down to this department, and you need to have this report on my desk ran by every Monday. Yeah. Now these things are just, it's just a matter of a text box away from executives, from the executive level all the way down to the employee.
So data lookup, and let's just call it like first blush analysis, like very basic. We're not fully relying on AI to tell us exactly how to run our business. But
exactly, like you have the very, just like the spectrum, you have the very basic and then you have the very intricate, of the systems.
Makes sense. Anything else you want to add to that, or like in terms of how you're seeing it implemented right now successfully?
I mean, there's tons of ways. Whether it's going to be I like to say that there's rules around like management systems when you get into functionality for managers. You're being able to work teams by having, what do you call them, like auto acceptances when it comes to just simple things like, PTO requests. Okay, hey, we're doing performance reviews. Now we're having artificial intelligence to help us analyze conversations between, manager to, management levels and down. There's so much AI going inside of every part of technology, whether you go from the applicant tracking, whether it's going to be the onboarding process, whether it's going to be the payroll, whether it's going to be the learning management system, anything you could think of, the entire suite of what builds up a finance, IT, and payroll team, there's an artificial intelligence module inside of it.
So where I see the opportunity, right, is then it's just going to streamline workflow to where the people you're hiring, you can plug them into higher value tasks and roles throughout the day, because a lot of this stuff is just getting taken care of for them, not replacing them. It's just, hey, the stuff that we all get inundated with. Hey, if I get an email, hey, Tom, do you mind looking up this participant balance for me in my 401k? I could be like, hey, like just talk to your AI chatbot and we'll be fine, right? Okay, very good. And then let's talk about the flip side. So I think things that come to mind for me, right? Like where do we start to run into the risk of over relying on AI? And I'll just give you some funny examples that I've interacted with. So like when I get sales calls and I'm obviously talking to somebody who it's like, you're obviously AI. So people trying to use it as like front of line, like whether it's outbound prospecting or lead nurture. You and I were joking about before we got on the air about like you kind of know when a bot's talking to you, so there's zero incentive for me to interact. When you're over relying it on, I made the comment of like allowing ChatGPT to strategize for your business, that might be a little risky, right? Depending on what inputs you give it. Any other things come to mind? Like what are you saying?
Tons. I think that's major, and that goes back to what I was saying is like strategic business owners, executive suites right now, they're not using AI to take over their business. They're using AI to enhance and make their processes, their flows, and the information that they're using to make decisions better internally. And just like you are saying, you are correct. You have seen companies that are like head first. Everything that I can make AI, artificial intelligence, if it'll save $1 to remove a head, if an AI can do it, that they think that that's fine. But on the other end of that, I believe customer service should now be at the top of almost every company's focus. If we're going to have these AI chatbots that are going to be having people frustrated, hitting 000 representative to get to wherever they need to be, we need to ensure that we have great customer service on the back end of that. Also, just like I talked about a little bit earlier, when it gets to compliance, when we get to safety risk, you may have people that are in these positions that may have sensitive information, sensitive data, bank account information, social security numbers. You want to make sure that you're not just having people drop information and sensitive data into ChatGPT or any other systems and platforms. So that is something to be wary about when you talk about the flip side. There's a lot of risk. There's a lot of, nobody wants their company to be cyber hacked. So nobody wants a cybersecurity attack. And AI does increase that. AI is making everyone smarter. If you wanted to learn something nowadays, it used to be YouTube University. Now it's ChatGPT University mixed with YouTube, so it's a combination. So it can get dangerous.
You guys can't see her on camera, but I also have Tiffany Lauer in the studio with Vestwell. She's going to be the next person that's going to be jamming with us on topics of benefits and HR and fun. But like the conversation we were having, the three of us, was there still has to be this human element, because when things go wrong, you want to rely on I still want to rely on a person, and I'm a millennial, so like maybe it's just my generation, whereas Gen Z would be like, dude, you're just a dinosaur. You're getting there's a lot of gray in this beard for a reason. But like, what do you think about that? Like at the end of all of this, like I still like to know I can pick up the phone. If something goes wrong with the retirement plan at Vestwell, I can call Tiffany, or if something's wrong 1,000%. With the client at Paylocity, it's like, I know Demir, we spent 30 minutes on a microphone together. We're tight, we're close. He better get this done for me. Like what are your thoughts on that when you talk to business leaders?
1,000%. I would have, if I was a business advisor, if I was advising people on business decisions, I'd say that that's the way to go. If you want to keep your humans, and you want to give them AI tools to make them better at their human jobs. You don't want AIs doing human jobs. I mean, they have social media. If you didn't see it on LinkedIn, they have their own LinkedIn. They have their own social media, Reddit right now. They're doing their own thing already. We don't want them doing human activities. I will say that it's getting scary, but it can be helpful, and it can be useful.
We're not at full Terminator yet, but
not just yet. We're close.
We're slowly getting there.
Please be nice to your Siri. Please be nice.
Yeah, and so like from what I'm hearing is like AI is a tool for enhancement. We can embrace it. Let's be careful about fully embracing it. We still need to put some guardrails around it. You're seeing it increase productivity just in terms of data lookup, basic analysis, some pretty basic workflows. You guys are obviously also starting to implement it within your own software, Paylocity.
Yes.
But there's still a human element to doing good business, and we just need to be aware of that. So, hey, if all of our listeners, if you're interested in learning more about how AI can support the human resource side of it, obviously, you can reach out to me, and I can connect you within my circle of subject matter experts who can kind of speak to it at a high level. But yeah, so Demir, what's the bottom line here? Like, if we wanted to kind of wrap this up, what would you say in terms of this topic?
I would give it into 3. I had this actually summarized into 3 realities. So the first reality is AI can be used for margin protection. Fewer payroll errors, lower compliance risk. These are all the great things. The reality, too, we can have better decision-making. We can have real-time labor cost visibility, data-backed hiring decisions. Maybe when we talked about artificial intelligence, helping us get better talent and things like this. But the reality 3 is we need to be cautious about the risk mitigation, audit trails, compliance. Where are we implementing AI at, and where do we need to keep humans at? AI is definitely going to be great for taking our businesses to the future. We're going to make better decisions faster. So that means that we, as a society, should evolve faster because we're making smarter decisions better and faster. But on the other end of that, we have to be careful about how we implement, where we implement, and how much of it we're implementing inside of our companies to make sure that we stay human-based, we stay, with a human aspect, and that we understand each other. But I do believe that AI is great. I'm not an AI hater. I'm a heavy adopter. And I think that's just the end of the reality. If you do not adopt with AI, if you don't, accept it into your life, and that's not just at work, I believe it's also in your personal, you will be left behind in society. And I believe that if you want to stay up on society, I would suggest, even for business owners, learn about ChatGPT, learn about some of these different, AI models. It's not just ChatGPT.
Yeah.
There's AI for engineers. There's AI for, salespeople. There's AI for every department in every industry. I would say learn how it's being beneficial in your industry. Learn how you can make your workforce stronger. And if you ever in the future just ever wanted to change your payroll or HR system to a better AI, system, you can call me or reach out to me on LinkedIn at Dominic Glover, and I'll be sure to share my expertise and some things that I'm seeing there. But that would be my bottom line of how I would wrap up, ultimately AI and HR in 2026 as we start.
Awesome, Samir. Yeah, so it's a cautious embrace of the technology, you guys. It's not full throttle, but let's, you got to embrace it, but let's not go full tilt. Let's be careful, especially around business. So with that, you guys, if you found that interesting in terms of a conversation around integrating AI into your day-to-day, primarily from like a human resources standpoint, payroll standpoint, or just general knowledge standpoint about like increasing worker productivity, we hope you found this useful. And if you are interested in learning more, you can reach out to me, Tom at riaadvisors.com, and I can connect you with anybody within my network to kind of point you in the right direction and solve any problems that you're possibly curious about. So with that, you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks, Tom.